Hey Tim, how's it going?
Hi, Serena. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I love that in this film there's a common thread, and the common question that keeps being asked is what story do we want to tell? What's the story that you wanted to tell with this film and why?
That's a good question. I think, yeah, we wanted to tell the story, the true story based on our research of this sports broadcast crew that had to make the switch from reporting on the Olympics to reporting on this crisis. And as they are going, as they were live, they are confronted with all these questions, like big journalistic ethical questions that are still so relevant today. And hopefully, we will make today's audience reflect on how we consume news and the
Mm.
media today through that historical lens.
Yeah, that's what surprised me actually. There was a line in there that Marianne said, she was exhausted at the end of it all, and she turned around and said, how am I? We waited all day, all night, staring into the dark just to take a photo. And I went, that could have been said today.
Absolutely. That's also what we felt. And I think Leonie delivered that line beautifully.
Yeah. What was Jeffrey's reaction when you approached him and said, we're about to do this film and we're going to tell it in this way?
First of all, as when we contacted Jeffrey, we weren't yet sure on how to tell, or we didn't find out yet on how to tell the movie. It was the conversation with him that actually inspired us or sparked the idea of telling it entirely from that perspective.
Wow.
Like when we had the Zoom call with him, we also saw like, okay, this is going to be like a 10-minute, 20-minute Zoom call, just quickly hearing from him. And then it was like 2.5 hours later or so that we hung up and we said, I think we just heard a story. And from Jeffrey's perspective, I know that I mean, he could tell you more about this, but I think first he was a little bit, oh, he gave a lot of interviews for this and he said, "Oh, okay, another movie about this."
Mm,
And then he suddenly, or from what he told us, he realized how sincere we are with this and how much we then were interested in that angle and in
yeah.
everything that happened in that studio on that day. And then he was like a really great partner through the script writing process. Like he helped, like we gave him every other draft to read so that he could see if if this was accurate. But also he helped us when approaching the footage, to get the copyright for the footage of Jim
Yeah.
McKay and some of the footage that ABC did sent on that day. So he was a very important partner throughout the whole project.
Um, this film, as I said, I like the angle that you took on this, but I also loved, I want to come and shake your hand. You have reinvigorated the 90-minute film. I feel like Hollywood has forgotten that you can be short, concise, and yet gripping and tell a great story in 90 minutes. What do you make of everything having to be 2 hours plus?
Well, I see both sides. I think it always depends on the story. I mean, I've seen a lot of films recently that are longer than 2 hours and that are great.
Mm,
The Brutalist is an example for a very long movie, but an awesome movie where like every minute is justified.
mm,
Um, while our story, I think also partly because of the condensed setting, and because, again, getting back to that conversation there was with Geoffrey Mason, there was something that he said. He said when we asked him how it felt for him, it said for him it felt like a complete rush all the time.
yeah.
They were so busy covering what was happening so fastly, so close to them, that their reflection only came afterwards. And that was the moment where he thought, like, okay, the movie has to feel the same way. It should be in that rush of reporting, and the idea was that also the audience only gets time to reflect afterwards, as
Mm.
that crew did in that room. Um, so I think it's always a question of the story of how say that justifies the length. But the script was already 90 minutes, 90 pages long, which is usually a sign of how long the movie will be in minutes, more or less. But also the editor, Hans-Jörg Weisbrich, was crucial in shaping it and keeping that tension all the time, even though you are in that room. I think it was, I think now that I think about it, it was also because we knew it takes place always inside that room that we were extra paying attention, that we don't, yeah, we didn't want to lose that focus or the intensity, to keep to reflect that feeling of that Geoffrey Mason told us and how it felt for them. And I want to add that I did a lot of research in preparing this movie in today's control rooms of sports broadcasts. And even if they just cover a regular basketball game or so, once that countdown goes and once you're live, it's like minutes past like seconds, and it's an extraordinary mood, tense mood in these rooms, and you can only imagine how it was if they were reporting on this tragedy.
Well, you definitely captured that, Tim. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.